Let's be honest, unless you're a special kind of crazy, no one likes having your car break down on you. So in order to never have this happen to you, I've created a list of 5 cars and an honorable mention, baby, that will last, well, practically forever. 300,000 miles is right around the corner, with proper maintenance, of course. Don't think that you can get away with 10,000-mile oil change intervals. Oh, and on that note, I have a quick trivia question for you. What is the proper mileage interval that you should change your oil? Best comment below will get a pin. Let's go! Hey, 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 you know what I'm about to say. It's that time of day that I'm about to hit the hay. I gotta get it off my chest, coming from the west. If you guys want the best, stick around till September 1st to snag some Ideal swag. All you gotta do is go to ideal.media, throw in your email, and join the familia. Sorry, I don't know what I did with my parents' money that they gave me for singing lessons, but yeah, enjoy the vid. I bet you guys are gonna be blown away with this first car because, well, it's the Honda Civic. And we all know that Civics are really good with fuel economy and they're pretty reliable. So it's pretty easy to understand why it's the best-selling vehicle in the US. And when there's so many on the road, that means that there's also a lot at the wreckers, which means you can get used parts for cheap. Next time you jump in a Civic, check the odometer, and I think you'll be surprised because more often than not, these cars rack up miles faster than a divorcee racks up rings. In fact, I just consider the Civic a lifer car because when people buy them, they buy them to drive them for 10 years or longer because they're cheap to maintain, they just sip on gas, and since they're pretty well made, after 10 years, they're still gonna drive great. And you know, it's as they say, sex should be like driving a Honda, slow, obscene, and loud enough for the neighbors to hear. It ain't a true Honda unless it's straight piped. Well, 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 we have a 95, we have an 05, and we have a 2015 Honda Civic. Prices over the past 5 years, and as you can see, you guys, you buy one, and pretty much it's a pretty good investment. I mean, this 15 went down from 21K down to 13K over 5 years, so it did depreciate, but these other two are pretty flatline. This 05 went from 6 to 4.5, and the 95 actually went up over the last 5 years, just a tad. So they're good investments, they're reliable, they're cheap, they sound okay, kind of like sex. But hey, you know, it's a Civic. It'll get you from A to B, no problemo. Honda's luxury brand, Acura, makes the RDX, which will go for hundreds of thousands of miles. And all you have to do is look at JD Power.
Mark, what'd I tell you about the JD Power Awards?
That they're just made up fake awards that we paid for that have no real meaning?
Or Consumer Reports, and you see that the Acura RDX is rated extremely high for both reliability and its initial build quality. And if the owner takes decently good care of the car, and believe it or not, this actually goes for practically any car out there, the RDX is known to go into the 6 figures and beyond on the odometer. And also, Consumer Reports said that this car was better than average for durability. Plus, it's a Honda, so it's pretty inexpensive to repair. And the one thing that I like about the RDX is that it comes with a V6 engine, which is relatively powerful. And since it is an Acura, it means it's gonna be a little bit more luxurious, a little bit quieter inside, and a little bit smoother on the road than just your run-of-the-mill Honda. Okay, so I ran the RDX graph for a 2007 and 2014. And as you can see, the 07 actually in the last 5 years has gone from 15 to 7. So it's depreciated almost 50%, where the 14 has depreciated from 36, 51%. So roughly the same depreciation. It's just how much money you want to tie up. But now you can get a 5-year-old one for under 20, and you can get a 2007 for under 10. So these things are still on the road, a lot of them, and they're good, reliable, long-lasting cars. You want to hear the most annoying sound in the world? I'm just kidding. You want to know what one of the best-selling vehicles of all time is, though? Yeah, it's the Toyota Corolla. And more likely than not, if you ask a Corolla owner if they're satisfied with their purchase, they're gonna say yes. Corollas are just known to be extremely durable, they're extremely cheap to maintain, and yeah, the Corolla isn't really the most aesthetically pleasing thing ever built, but it makes up for it by traveling more worry-free miles than pretty much any other car ever. Since 2007, Consumer Reports has said that the Corolla has been one of the most reliable vehicles. And the Corolla is kind of like a brotherhood. If you look after it, it'll look after you. So let's see how prices have been over the last 5 years. Well, you can totally tell that Honda Civics and Toyota Corollas are direct competitors because depreciation looks almost identical. We have a 95, 05, and 15 Corolla over the last 5 years. You snagged a 15 brand new for, let's say, 20 grand. Today, 5 years later, it's only depreciated 38%. Not bad for 5 years of ownership. And you got your 05, which you could have picked up for 5 years ago, and it would now be worth 5 grand, about the same depreciation. But then if you picked up a 95, a classic, you really are looking at very little depreciation, less than 10%. Parts are cheap. Car will get you from point A to point B all day, every day. That is a reliable vehicle from a very reliable manufacturer. Miata is the answer to everything, isn't it? And a car that's gonna go hundreds of thousands of miles doesn't necessarily have to be, well, boring. Yeah, we all know that the Miata isn't the fastest in a straight line. But find your favorite twisty, and this thing will put a smile on your face mile after mile. Smiles for miles. And the fact that it's a roadster and you can keep the top down while doing it, I mean, because we all know that everything's more fun topless, right? Makes it a true winner in my book. Most people just look at the Miata as a sports car, and few people know that this car will log as many miles as it takes to get from Earth to the moon, reliably. And it seems nowadays that every generation of Miata is a collector's item. So prices are pretty level. Let's check out how much you have to spend to get an NA, NB, or NC Miata. The Miata is cheap fun, and we got the NA down here, we got the NB and the NC over the last 5 years, and you can see that the NC has depreciated some, right? 33.5%. 33.9%. The NB though is actually in the last 5 years not depreciated, and A has gone from roughly 5 grand 5 years ago to look at that, 7 grand. It's appreciated. So not only do you have a reliable, fun sports car, but if you bought an NA 5 years ago, you would probably be ahead because maintenance, gas, all that stuff. It's a gas sipper. It's cheap to maintain. Mazda Miata is an ideal car. Now, before we get into the single most reliable car to ever exist, you guys are ready for the honorable mention, baby. Mercedes-Benz has just been known for eating up miles. And the nice thing about them is that they usually are pretty luxurious, have decent curb appeal, and engines with a lot of torques. And the fact that these things age extremely gracefully means that you don't have to buy a new one to get that Mercedes reliability. The New York Times did an article where they were trying to find cars that were extremely durable. And guess what? The 1986 Mercedes-Benz 300 SDL was a winner. Why? Because with proper maintenance, they found that the owners would drive these things over 400,000 miles. Yeah, they are one of the most durable and reliable engines ever to be put in any vehicle. And since it's a Mercedes, they just are built to go. But the one thing you gotta look out for is rust. But other than that, these things will go like a top. Since there's no price data on the Mercedes, instead, we're just gonna look at a couple that are for sale. And this turbo diesel has 224,000 miles on it. But look at this one, you guys, 354,000 miles. That's still 3 grand. Big body Benz, baby. Look at that thing. Okay, 350,000 miles. Yeah, I mean, 2 color seats. I love it. But the interior overall, I mean, look at that. That's done more miles than going from Earth to the moon. And yet it still looks relatively decent. I mean, for 3 grand Mercedes, you're looking at something that's gonna do another 300,000 miles. Let's go. If you tell someone that you own a Toyota, one of the first things that will come to that person's mind is that it's probably pretty reliable. But as we learned with the Miata, it can also be fun. And Toyota's mid-sized truck-based SUV called the 4Runner is one of the most fun vehicles to take off-road. And not only that, but it's hilariously funny how many of these have hundreds of thousands of miles on the odometer. It's relatively smooth on the road, has a more than competent V6 engine, and time again has been the answer to someone that wants 4-wheel drive, off-road ruggedness, and amazing reliability. When looking for one of these used, mileage almost doesn't really matter. You can find them with 300,000, even 400,000 miles plus sometimes. People just tend to hang on to these forever. And although I've never owned one, I totally understand why. Okay guys, it's pretty phenomenal when you buy a brand new 2015 4Runner or any car brand new, and after 5 years of ownership, it's only depreciated 26%. I mean, these things just, yes, they depreciate, but not very much. And that's why people hang on to them forever. Here's a 2005, and over the last 5 years has depreciated 30%. And look at this, you guys, a 95 actually has appreciated 22%. God, that's like the Miata. Anyway, these rigs are awesome. They're capable. They're definitely ideal. And since I know that you're all about reliability, you gotta make sure that you never, ever, ever buy one of these 5 cheap sports cars that are complete money pits. Or check out what YouTube recommends you watch next. Oh, and if you haven't yet, please subscribe. But either way, you can't lose. And as always, keep living that ideal lifestyle.